Chrissy, we just had a call from Kathy, and she brought up something I'm not sure I've ever heard of, but it was a limited prenuptial agreement. So why don't we talk about prenuptials for a few minutes here? And who does this apply to? Well, we're talking about the state of Florida. Anybody that's getting married later in life, he's got children from a previous marriage, she's got children from a previous marriage. Their intentions are to keep their assets separate. Their intentions are that when he dies, his assets go to his kids, her assets go to her kids, with some exceptions. If they want to accomplish that, they need to have a prenuptial agreement, because Florida's elective share law says that by the very fact of being married, your spouse is automatically entitled to a portion of your estate.
Correct.
So if you get married and you've got a will and you have no prenuptial agreement, and the husband's got a will that says, when I die, everything goes to my children, and the husband passes away, the wife could step in and say, I don't care what his will says, I want what I'm entitled to under Florida's elective share law.
Correct.
That elective share has to do with two categories of assets. One is the home that they're living in, and two is everything else. Kathy got married later in life. The home that she and her husband are living in is in her name only, but by Florida's elective share law, he automatically has rights to it. But Kathy did something very smart. Before she got married, she got a prenuptial agreement, not for the whole spectrum of what he might be entitled to, but for it's a limited prenuptial agreement only as to the home that they happen to be living in.
Exactly.
So I didn't know there was such a thing, but it makes sense.
Well, as I was listening to her say that, because I have heard that before, as you can imagine, when we're doing estate planning for our clients, we talk to clients where they are married and they did not do what Kathy did.
Right.
And we are counseling them, and oftentimes before preparing estate planning documents, it is very common that we are directing them to an attorney that does prenuptial and postnuptial agreements. Very important for them to, at a minimum, have a consultation before we start the process of estate planning documents, because we want to make sure that it's right for them and everybody is in the know. So with that said, you're correct that there is, most of the time, the prenups that we do hear about or that people bring to us, because if they already did a prenup, they're bringing it with them. We're using that as a guide when we are preparing their estate planning documents. And so there is the home, and then there is everything else. And so it would be interesting to see that document on her end. And that's why, though, too, of course, I know people understand when they're calling into the radio show that this is not, if you will, the ultimate. You do have to have an attorney that you talk to, whether it's us or somebody else. We know that if somebody does have a document like that, Kathy said, just associated with the home, and she came to us to prepare documents, the first thing we do, say we want to see that document, and we review it.
Chrissy, you made some good points there, and I want to expand on them a little bit. One is that I've been a lawyer for over 43 years, and my career as a lawyer, in times I have done prenuptial agreements, but with your wise counsel a few years ago, we came to the conclusion, and no. This is now a specialized area of law. We know a lawyer that does prenuptial or postnuptial agreements all day, every day, and that's what it takes. Expertise on what the existing laws are and what the existing case law is.
Exactly.
Because
it's extremely important.
In a nuptial agreement, if you don't cross your T's and dot your I's and you get divorced, guess what? Your spouse is going to go to court and challenge it and say, didn't cross his T's or dot his I's. Court should throw this out. And
correct.
That can't happen.
Correct.
And if it's not done proper.
Correct. Exactly. And that's why you're right, Tom. It's family law. We do not do family law here. And it is a specialty under family law.
Yep. And then the other thing is that when the client tells us that they have a prenuptial agreement or a postnuptial agreement, we want a copy.
Exactly.
That's
the
need
starting
to know
point.
What it says, what their rights and obligations are, but also it is for the client's safety, because I've told you that in my 43 years of law practice, one time I had a man who was a long-time client of mine. Long time. he had a prenuptial agreement and I never got a copy of it. Guess what? He died. And the wife is saying, no, we never had a prenuptial agreement. Everything he's got is now going to me because there is no prenuptial agreement. I mean, honestly, I saw that unfold in front of my eyes. When she told me, oh, there's no prenuptial agreement, I knew she was lying to my face. So,
No, you're right.
and there wasn't a thing that I could do about it
Because you didn't have it.
because I didn't have it.
Exactly.
So if you have a prenuptial agreement out there or a postnuptial agreement, if you're not sharing it with your lawyer, you should at least share it with your kids.
Well,
Because if they can't find your prenuptial agreement, guess what? You don't have a prenuptial agreement.
I will not do estate planning documents for somebody without it.
That's a wise move. Make them show you a copy.
I will not. I don't touch it.
Yeah.
And one thing to add, there have been situations for me where when I look at it, it didn't do what they were saying to me also.
Okay, got you. Yeah.
Therefore, I had to guide them and in some situations put them back to the attorney to clarify so that we could proceed into estate planning documents.
So the listeners out there on the radio and over the internet and via podcasts and via the videos we do and at our YouTube channel, this is the takeaway, okay? If you're getting married later in life, you've got children from previous marriage, she's got children from a previous marriage, or a same-sex couple, same thing. A prenuptial agreement is a very, 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 very good idea. It will needs to be done by a lawyer who has expertise in it. Once it is done, each of the spouses need to have a copy of it. Make sure you share your copy with your children and with your estate planning attorney.
Exactly. Great. Well said.
Thank you.